Brand deals and sponsored content are how most full-time creators make a substantial amount of their income and money in social media. But one of the big mysteries that everybody always talks about is, well, how much do I charge for my sponsored content? How much am I supposed to be paid for brand deals? How do I price myself, pitch myself, and package these brand deals so that I get paid fairly? Now, the harsh truth is that most content creators, regardless of their size, actually are underpriced or underpaid. I've worked with content creators with 5,000 subscribers all the way up to 5 million subscribers that have still managed to underprice their brand deals. So today, what I want to talk about is what to do and what not to do, and I want to teach you how to price and package your brand deals. And speaking of brand deals and sponsors, today's video is sponsored by my good friends over at Creative Juice, but more on that later. Also, you probably don't want to skip around too much on this video because you will miss something important, and it can definitely mean that you end up underselling yourself and undercharging for your work, so you might want to watch all the way to the end. Now, it's important for you to know up front that every single niche in YouTube is different, and that applies to basically all content platforms as well. Some of you who are getting paid from ad revenue, for example, know that different niches pay radically differently, as much as 10 times differently. So take some of that into consideration here. And while I'll be mostly speaking about YouTube because it is the platform I'm most familiar with, you can apply this to Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms as well. Let's start with some things not to do. And this is important, and it doesn't matter what platform we're talking about or what size you are, this one does matter. Do not enter into any brand deals without a signed contract. I cannot stress that enough. Doesn't matter. There's either a signed contract or there's not. Do not use online calculators to try to come up with some mystical magical formula to price your brand deals. It doesn't really work, and this is one more reason that creators are underpaid. Do not base your brand deals exclusively on things like your follower count, subscriber count, your views, or your likes. That is not the most important consideration in most of this, and it's not a strong place for you to negotiate from. In fact, it's probably gonna undermine you in your negotiating in the first place. So just don't really overweight those things. There are other factors here you need to be considering. Do not agree to any brand deals that have a requirement on the amount of views or require those views to be done in a certain time frame. This is not a deal you need to say yes to. You can just walk away if that's gonna be a deal breaker on the contract. Do not agree to any deal that makes the content the property of the brand. You need to have ownership over the content unless it's going to exist on their platform exclusively or specifically. Other than that, you as the content creator need to own the content and the rights to it. You're allowing them usage and rights of the content at best. You need to retain ownership and do not let them own any of your IP. And finally, on these things to absolutely not do, do not under any circumstances pay for a product and agree to be reimbursed for that product by the brand. This is also a deal that you can just walk away from. So these are the things I think are really important for you to not be taken advantage of as a content creator. When you're working with sponsors, when you're working with brands, these are the red flags. These are things that mean you need to just nope right out of there and out of that deal, and don't be tempted by the money or by the status of finally making it because you finally have a brand deal. You do not need to say yes to these things. Okay, Roberto, that's great, but how do I charge for brand deals? How much am I supposed to get paid for my brand deals? How much do I charge for sponsored content? Well, I'm gonna get to that, and it's important for you to be set up for charging and getting paid in the first place. You're going to need a way to capture payment, and you're gonna need a way to invoice, and so that leads me to my sponsor for today, Creative Juice. Creative Juice is a free-to-use platform that actually helps content creators in a lot of ways with great financial tools, and it also has some other great features like its Juice Boost, which allows you to capture your ad revenue early if you link it to your Juice bank account, which you can sign up for free. This is also great if you are doing brand deals. You can put together an easy to use, customizable media kit that has your stats, and not just for your YouTube channel, but some of your other social platforms as well, like Instagram. You can also create invoices and send those directly to your brands for any of your contracts. And you also have the ability to capture those funds with your free Juice bank account. This is a sponsor I really believe in, and I'm also an angel investor in the company, full disclosure, along with other great content creators like Graham Stephan, Mr. Beast, and Shelby Church. You can also use the code Roberto Juice, and once you sign up and you put in that code, they'll actually hook you up with a little bonus for signing up and funding an account. Thanks again to Creative Juice for everything you do for creators and sponsoring today's video. Earlier, I talked about not using calculators, and there's a reason for that. Every creator is different, and these calculators don't account for niche, and they don't account for intangibles that exist outside of the data of your social media platforms, whether that's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, doesn't matter. These things don't take into consideration all the other things that you can't see just by looking at your data and your analytics from connecting your account. For a lot of you, they're a good baseline in the sense that you don't know what to charge. Some people, myself included, have said things like, well, whatever that number is, triple it or 5x it. And that could be a good solid number that is actually more realistic and more reasonable in terms of you being compensated fairly for your sponsored content when doing these brand deals. However, even that is not really a great way to approach it, in my opinion. It's just there because most people are just clueless and anxious and don't know what to do at all, and it's better than nothing. And so why I can't give you a magical formula or calculation that you can use to decide how much you are worth as a content creator, because let's face it, there's no number there that's gonna really make sense. What I can teach you is a method to actually get better at itemized pricing for your brand deals and structuring packages that are gonna make sense. And this can get you closer to just being able to say, here is what I'm happy with being paid, and I won't have any regrets or feel taken advantage of. So the way that I look at this is I don't price based purely on access to the audience or public vanity metrics. And there's a very good reason for this. I come from a client services background, working at agencies and working as a freelancer. And so I already know how to charge for creative work based on something called deliverables. So what you should do is you should look at all of the assets that you're creating in your sponsored content, all the work that's being done, and look at those as services you could bill for. Now, if you're feeling some kind of way or you're feeling insecure because of your views, your followers, your subscriber counts, and you're charging off of that, it's a mistake and it's often used against you in a negotiation. The truth is you should start with thinking about this. How much would I charge just to make the content and let the brand use it on its own platforms? Because if you're just making the content, making a video, writing a script, doing the thumbnails, doing the graphics, performing on camera as talent, well, that's all worth money, isn't it? If it's not about your own audience and reaching that, if it's not gonna be on your platform, then how big you are is largely irrelevant to that. You would still get paid if you were just a model with no following, if you were just an actor or actress with no following, if you were just a video editor, a video producer, a script writer, you would get paid regardless of how many people this thing reaches. That's not on you if you're just producing the content. So what would you charge for the work itself that you are doing? That's a good place to start with, okay, here is the beginning and baseline of how I'm pricing. The next part of it is, how much is your reputation worth to you? Think about it. In working with a brand, you're leveraging your reputation. Your name and face is tied to this. That's a risk that you're taking. So what amount of money makes you comfortable with that risk and them using you as their credibility? You need to think about that. How much is your reputation actually worth to you in order to take that risk of associating with a brand or a product? Let's think about that. Another thing to consider is opportunity cost. You only have a limited amount of time and energy, and you have to allocate resources to this, whether that's you or your team. And that means that saying yes to this means saying no to something else. There may also be exclusivity. A lot of brands will tell you, well, while you're working with us, well, for 30 or 60 or 90 days, here's the list of people you can't say yes to or work with or promote. That is an opportunity cost. So that's a part of negotiation where if they're going to limit your ability to make money, well, they need to pay you more. And if they're not going to limit that, then you can afford to take less money because you have more opportunities and you can say yes to more things that make you money. So you need to consider that in this equation as well. That needs to be a line item. That needs to be able to help you negotiate and fluctuate the price up or down depending on what they're willing to do. And then finally, there is the value of your audience. Some audiences are more valuable than others based on a number of things, whether that's demographics, buying power, there are any number of things that go into that equation. They're going to have to buy advertising if they don't use you. They're going to have to pay for reach somehow, some way. So again, instead of starting with, well, how many followers or how many views do I get or any of that, realize that that is not worth anything if there's not content to reach people in the first place, and not somebody's reputation and on-camera performance and presence or name to associate with the thing, or a model to, pitch the thing, the lifestyle to look the part. Without that content, without somebody to represent the thing, without a name and a face, it's not really useful to have reach and nothing to push. So just kind of understand that the audience is the added value here. And so it's not the starting point of a negotiation. It can be the starting point of attention and qualifying for an opportunity, but it's not something you need to base the majority of the pricing off of. And I really stand by that, because remember, they would have to pay for the content one way or another. They have to work with you as a content creator, or they have to work with an ad agency to make the content, or they have to pay people a salary to make the content in-house. Someone has to be paid exclusively for the work, regardless of the reach. And this is so important because it's why creators undervalue and underprice their work. It's something I had to teach every single one of my coaching clients to do differently, because most of them were not considering this at all when pricing their brand deals. And I've seen it result in people being able to change the way they approach things and get up to 3 or 5 times more than what they were saying yes to in the first place. Some people were making the mistake of just throwing out a number, and that number should have been significantly higher. It's not that there aren't people willing to pay you what you're worth, it's that so many of you don't know what you are worth in the first place, and will say yes to a much lesser amount because you don't know any better. A lot of it is that creators are throwing out the number first, not even asking for what the budget is or letting an offer be made. And you're out there lowballing yourself, but also sometimes underpricing and devaluing the entire market when it comes to other creators and influencers. And that's not on purpose, and that's not a dig at anybody. It's just to make you aware that the consequences for underpricing go beyond you. It is possible to end up actually spoiling the market. Now, I'm gonna give you some other things to consider, and then I wanna give you some hard numbers just some kind of transparency, and just for you to get an idea of your head of what is possible. Do not take those numbers to heart, by the way. But here are some other things you need to consider. For one thing, you can actually get more money by offering more deliverables and asking for more than a one-time engagement. You can structure, pitch, and ask for recurring brand deals and put together long-term packages and relationships. This is something I teach my coaching clients to do that makes them a lot more money than if they just did a one-off video. It could start with a one-off video, or you could try to go into a larger package, or you could build that bridge and deliver for them now and then do a longer term package later. Another thing that I talk about is diversifying your platforms, and one of the reasons that that's important is because you could use that to up the ante on the price, whether that's amplification of the sponsored content itself, or arranging to get another piece of the budget from a department that is allocated funds for another platform that the brand may not even realize you're big in, or that you have a following in at all. I often talk about growing an email list. Growing an email list is a big deal, and you could get sponsorship even just for that, like Colin and Samir do with their newsletter, The Published Press. They have sponsors for almost every single issue of that. And that's a big deal because that's sponsorship that isn't relying solely on their YouTube channel and their other platforms. It's something that allows them to have another revenue stream based on their newsletter audience specifically. That is valuable. Also consider that there could be value in seeing if the brand also has an affiliate program. This could be another opportunity to get a deeper relationship with a brand. You could also ask about doing content on their platforms as a contractor rather than them sponsoring exclusively just the content on your platforms. You could work out a licensing deal for their platforms and get paid to make their content. This could even be a long-term contract for you. Let's move on to some hard numbers here really quickly. Here's the harsh truth. Not all creators are going to get paid the same. A lot of content creators are mistaken what they do with social media for an employment job and a salary where there's the notion of equal work for equal pay, right? The issue with that is that this is not employment and this is not a salaried job, and every single creator is radically different. Radically different. No two audiences are the same. No two creators' circumstances are the same. So even if you said, well, I want to get paid what this other person is getting paid, well, for one thing, you don't know that they're not already underpriced. So getting paid what they think that they're worth is not the same thing as getting paid what you are actually worth. And this is a mistake that I see in the industry all the time because of people equating being an influencer and content creator with their experiences in working at a salaried job. They're not the same. Do not treat them the same. This is a business. And while it's great to figure out and find out what other people are paid because it might help sometimes, that may have nothing to do with your circumstances or your value. And it's another way that people underprice themselves while thinking that they're getting a fair deal or a better deal. The best answer is to decide for yourself what you are worth, have a basis for what you are worth, and then you either get that or you don't. You negotiate for that or you don't. Other people and their deals and their negotiating tactics and their sense of self-worth is not a problem for you to solve. You need to figure out what you're charging and why. And it needs to be based on you and not somebody else's circumstances. That's a good way to underprice yourself. And if you want to know how radically different pricing can be, it's not just down to the circumstances of the individual creator. It can be down to the niche as well, but it can also be down to the type of campaign that it is, and the requirements of those campaigns could be different because there might be items in the contract that are not going to be standard across other brands or other campaigns just based on things like seasonality or the nature of a product or the timetable for the release or the restrictions or embargoes. These things drastically can change the price. To give you a really good example, someone with over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, like my situation, could be getting a brand deal that might be anywhere from $5,000 for a single video all the way up to $50,000 for a single video, depending on several variables, more than a dozen things that you could negotiate around in a contract. And that might sound insane, but it's not remotely unreasonable. And somebody at my level could negotiate a year-long deal that could be up to $100,000, depending on what is being asked of them and what they're delivering on and whether they meet those conditions or not. By the way, I'm not claiming that any of my brand deals are $100,000 a year. I'm not claiming that any of my relationships are $100,000 a year. I just want you to know that that is not out of the realm of possibility, but specific conditions would have to be met for something like that. And it also could be just the sheer number of deliverables, and we could be talking about multiple platforms. We're definitely talking about multiple videos at that point. So just keep that in mind and understand that it is possible to structure long-term relationships for much higher dollar amounts, but also under the right circumstances. There depends on what is being asked of you, specifically with regard to restrictions, embargoes, exclusivity, not working with other brands. That could drastically change the price, and not even just by a little bit, but by a lot. But you're also stuck in those contracts, and that's part of the reason. It's enough money to hold you accountable, and so you have to deliver what is promised. This is probably not gonna get a ton of views, so if you really believe that people don't understand brand deals and pricing and you think this video is helpful, I need a huge favor. I need you to share it with as many people as possible so that we can get creators paid, because whenever I make videos about brand deals, no matter how helpful they are, it's actually really difficult to get people to actually watch them. I think people either believe they're not ready for brand deals, or they just, want the video to be as short as possible. But we're talking about money that could be life-changing for a lot of you. And so I don't think I could do it justice by trying to slap something together in 5 minutes just to get more clicks. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this, watch my playlist on brand deals because I really think it would help a lot of you out. Also, if you're interested in being a full-time content creator, I also have some great videos on that. I'm gonna link another one of those in the description for you. As always, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget, go out there and create something awesome today. Take care.